to the Red Podcast.
David here. I've decided to do a few special episodes on my own to talk about some of the biggest problems facing new entrepreneurs. On this episode, I'm going to be talking about imposter syndrome, sometimes known as fraud syndrome, and if you're suffering from this, how you can get out of it. I'm going to share my own personal experiences with imposter syndrome, as well as advice for moving forward in your business, even though you may not feel 100% comfortable doing so. I'm going to share my own experiences with imposter syndrome, as well as advice for moving forward in your business, even though you may not feel 100% comfortable. First, let's define what imposter syndrome is. Simply put, this is a psychological phenomenon in which people don't recognize their own accomplishments. And because of this, as the name suggests, they feel like imposters or frauds. Does this sound like you? If so, I've got some good news and I've got some bad news. The bad news is imposter syndrome will kill your career before it even gets off the ground, because you'll never be able to claim your place at the table or join in on a conversation if you don't feel like you deserve to be there. It just doesn't happen. But here's the good news. Imposter syndrome is easy to fix. And if you're feeling like an imposter right now, it's very possible that what I tell you over the next few minutes will change that. First, let me tell you a story. When I started my first real business, which was a music promotion company, I was still in college. I was only about 22 years old. I had a background working as a musician, but aside from doing my own marketing and taking some classes on the subject in school, I didn't have a whole lot of experience. Fortunately for me, when I decided to actually start this company, I didn't know how limited my knowledge was. I'd had success marketing and promoting my own music. I was good at getting people to come to my shows, I could get press, and I knew what it took to sell music. And that's actually how I ended up on the business side of the music industry. People saw I was having success with my own music and promoting that, so they started coming to me for help with their projects. But when I started having success doing that kind of work for others, even well-known major label acts that I'm sure that you recognize if I mentioned their names, my own self-doubt started to creep in. I started to question my abilities. For a while, that stopped me in my tracks. All that forward momentum that I had, all the good that I'd been experiencing, that came to a standstill. And I sabotaged opportunities to work with several other major acts because I didn't trust myself to do a good job for them. Have you ever met somebody who thought he knew what he was doing, but you, as a more experienced person, recognized that he didn't know much at all? That's called the Dunning-Kruger effect, and it's where unskilled individuals tend to suffer from the illusion of superiority, mistakenly rating their ability for much higher than it actually is. But there's a flip side. Highly skilled individuals tend to rate their abilities lower than is accurate. Because they're so skilled, they're able to recognize how much they don't know. And these people also tend to erroneously assume that the tasks which are easy for them are also easy for others, thereby underestimating their relative competence. Does this sound familiar? If so, congratulations. You're probably not an imposter after all. Understanding this concept is what helped me to realize that I was on the right path and actually doing good work. And before long, I was back in the saddle doing things that were bigger and more profitable than I ever imagined. But then it happened again. Once more, I started to doubt my own abilities. That's when I realized that feeling like an imposter never totally goes away for those who are pushing their own limits of creativity and business. And that's how it should be. Most people want to wait until everything is perfect before starting on something new or outside of their comfort zones. But perfection never comes, and comfort never totally exists. The reality when it comes to imposter syndrome is just the opposite of what most people think. In order not to be an imposter, you have to jump in and do the work. And the time to do that is right now. A question for you. Are you ready to get to work right away? If so, I've got an opportunity that you might just be a match for. Laurel and I are currently putting together an intimate group of high-level entrepreneurs who want to go big in the upcoming year. Making more money is part of this, but we're looking for people who want more than just money. Specifically, we're looking for people who want to focus on more freedom, the ability to do the work that you want in a way that allows you to live the life that you want. We call this Red 3X. It's the inner circle you've been looking for. You'll not only get support from other people who are in the trenches with you, you'll also get personal one-on-one help from both me and Laurel. Red 3X isn't for everybody, and space is limited to just 7 people. This isn't a one-size-fits-all group program that accepts anybody who comes in the door. It's an intimate group that operates on a very high level. Only the best will be accepted. Does that scare you a bit? If so, good. That's the Dunning-Kruger effect kicking in, and being scared is a great sign that you may just have what it takes to be part of this. To take the next step, there's an application at redpodcast.com/apply. Answer all the questions, we'll review the application, and we'll be in touch for a personal interview if we think you might be a good match. URL again, redpodcast.com/apply. Look forward to hearing from you.
You've been listening to Red Podcast, Real Entrepreneur Development. Subscribe today using iTunes, Stitcher, or via RSS at redpodcast.com.